Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another exciting week of Enjoying Orange Slices, 16th week and counting. This week, we talk about a number of things. Some of them are a little bit older. Last week, Tom Wilson and the New York Rangers. We talk about coaches, and we talk about how great Ian is at motivating young kids to win tournaments. We also, I would like to do a shout out this week. I got in my hand the National Women's Hockey League t-shirt. This one's for Ian. I have mine on right now. So the National Women's Hockey League, thank you so much for doing what you do. We're here to support you. So get out there and get some of their merch. It's on their website. And finally, Mr. Ian Bagg, Lord Bagg, as you may refer to him, is at the Acme Comedy Club this week in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, Acme Comedy Club. Go see him. He's much more fun than he is on Orange Slices. Enjoy.
Oh, hello, Jeff. It's been a while. I haven't even seen you or talked to you for a week. You've been so busy. I've been feeling left out of your world. I didn't know what to do. How you doing? How's coaching going?
It's going great. I missed you for lunch on Friday, but it was a busy week. Not only on the ice in the NHL, but it's a busy week for me. So, it was a lot of fun. Lunch, like I said on Friday, wasn't quite the same, but I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking.
We love to
go how much that means to me.
That makes me feel good that you miss me. Speaking of coaching, the coaching has started to change in the NHL. Not so much people being fired, just not being asked back. Which is worse, being fired or not being asked back?
Yeah, I don't know. I think in some cases not being asked back is probably a relief, but so being fired. I guess you could look at it two different ways. Like when the Vegas Golden Knights let go of Coach Gallant and fired him, obviously his success had been unprecedented for an expansion team or a team, any real team in the league at that time. They were as competitive as anyone. So that would really suck, I think. Being kind of mutual, hey, we're going to go opposite directions, kind of seems like what happened in a couple of the other places this year, like Rick Tocchet in Phoenix, which is kind of sad to see him go because I thought
I was disappointed in that. That was one that was a one that I was like, nah.
So I think in that case, like one side, when you fire the other person, they've had enough of you. When it's the other way, both have had enough and they want to move on. But
I got a question. Do you think it was amicable, as they call it? They use a word that I can't say right now. But do you think it's got anything to do with finances? They would have fired them a couple months ago, a couple of these guys, but why not just not put any extra money on the books and just keep going until the summer and then get rid of them? Because they weren't going to make the playoffs. It wasn't like all of a sudden you're going to have somebody come in for an extra 10 games and suddenly it was going to be fantastic, right?
Yeah, I think it's different. I mean, if you looked at a team like Los Angeles, the Kings, McClellan's done a nice job there. They kept the team in it till late in the season. Same in the Rangers with Quinn. There's rumors that he might be out of New York now, too, which would be crazy because he did a great job. And any of the other divisions, those guys might have already been in the playoffs or very close to it. So, unfortunately, our friend Rick Tocchet he'll get a job somewhere. I would like to see him stay in Phoenix because I think that organization needs that kind of identity, the proven track record. But there might just be a divergence of opinion between him and the new general manager. So we'll look forward to see where he lands. But I can promise you that he'll do a good job wherever it is.
Well, that's what they say, right? I think the reason Tocchet was gone was because he was hired by the old regime in Phoenix, and of course they're going to want to go with their own guy. Do you think Tocchet gets an instant head coaching job, or is he one of those guys that kind of moves over to assistant coach before he goes back to head coach?
No, I think he's a head coach through and through. I would be very surprised if he took a job as an assistant. I think he's one of the most sought after guys in the league. He got a lot out of that team. They got a young, nice team in Arizona there, and I would like to have seen him stick around. I'm really interested to see who they plug in there after Tocchet. But I do believe that he's a guy that will do very well wherever he goes. So we'll miss him in Arizona. We'll look forward to seeing where he lands.
He seems like he's the new style of coach, right? It doesn't seem like he's a hard ass. He's like he's respected without having to be a hard ass, right?
He commands a lot of respect right? And he played a long time in the league. He's won Stanley Cups. He knows how to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like he's ever been handed the keys to like the fastest car in the parking lot. He usually gets the keys to something that he's got to kind of put some work into, which I'm sure he's more than willing to do. But I would expect him to be next stop, a contender, someone that's looking to push their team over the top. I think he'd be a good pick.
Do you think Phoenix goes after a younger coach, or do you think they go after somebody that's been retreaded a couple times and has the respect of the league? Like, would a Gallant go well in Phoenix? And I'm gonna stop this question right here because nobody's been hired in Seattle yet. So I'm guessing some of these got to be happy that they've been let go because now they're in that race as well.
Right. And there's a lot of kind of like being able to build the identity team from the ground up the way you want it. You'll inherit players from other organizations and some free agents, maybe some guys from Europe. Hard to say what exactly they'll do there. And of course, you're going to have a bunch of young guys coming in that organization. But I think Gallant would be a great pick there. I think Tockett's a great pick for Seattle. And then another guy that's still working on getting an extension is Rob Brindamore in Carolina. Has done a great job. So it'll be one of those, kind of wait and see. But whoever gets Seattle, or maybe there's some other kingpin job shows up. I mean, the way the Rangers are going, we can talk about them in a second. The next thing to go, they've fired everybody else. Maybe the next thing to go is their coach. So who do that would be a very coveted job, coaching the Rangers.
Brindamore seems like a kind of coach that if he didn't re-sign, somebody might fire a coach to get him. He seems like that. He's that well respected right now. There's not many of those coaches around right now. And let's break off to New York and then come back to coaching, because it's amongst the same thing. It's change in general manager, president, and stuff in there. And it's funny, I didn't know that the owner of the Rangers was the same guy that owned the Knicks. I thought they were separate owners, and I thought that's why the Rangers were able to kind of keep going, because the Knicks in the NBA have just gone. They've been 150,000 miles of rough road and terrain, the Knicks, and now it seems like if you're a Rangers fan, you might be a little terrified because it's getting a little bouncy in Ranger land. Right?
Yeah, everything that they did this year was very impressive. I mean, you got to remember Panarin took a leave of absence. He was gone for 9 or 10 games. Zibanejad got off to a really, really slow start, and somehow they managed to get themselves back in the race. They got a lot of really good pieces there. Lafreniere, who was the number 1 pick in the draft last year, came on as the season went on. Kreider got going. Their goaltending was pretty darn good, and their D was pretty good. Adam Fox, the young defenseman, is in the Norris conversation for the best defenseman in the league. So
right,
a lot of really good things. And the head coach, David Quinn, gets a lot of credit for that. And I would have to say, the two guys that got let go, the president and the GM of the club, had a lot to do with it too. But then, then all of a sudden on the way, towards the end of the season here, they start to clean house, which it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But
it was gross, is what it was. Didn't make sense. It was gross the way it happened. They were going through that kind of turmoil with the Washington Capitals, and all of a sudden JD and the other guy are out, and I was disappointed. And then you're just like, somebody that has money thinks they're a hockey player and hockey knowledge, and it happens in all our careers. The people at the top with the money sometimes haven't seen the bottom and don't know how everything works, but think they do. And I thought Vancouver had the worst ownership in the league, and I'm going to change that right now to New York is in trouble.
Well, misery loves company, right? And so the Knicks have been kind of languishing for years, and these moves to unsettle your organization like that. I don't know. I think John Davidson was the president, did very well-liked guy, a lot of experience throughout the league. Scott Gordon was the general manager, had kind of been tasked with putting the pieces back together. And then they hired a young coach, and there's going to be more come out on this, but if it was just an owner that didn't like something that happened, which is it's their sandbox. The owners have all the sand. So if they want to let someone go,
they inherited that sand. It's what annoys me about it. I don't know which the way. I don't know which is the right way to own a team. Like, I don't know if it should be like almost like the Green Bay Packers, while everybody owns a team, or it should be a rich person that owns a team. I don't know which is the right way to own a team.
Well, in recent history, you haven't even had to be rich to own some of these teams. Just to have a really good story.
Just got to be able to bullshit your way through it. Yeah.
I mean, you know what? That's part of the life, isn't it? It's the BS of it all. But
right.
Anyways, it's a shame to see what happened with the Rangers. So the Tom Wilson incident, where he kind of took advantage of Buchnevich, one of their forwards who was going for
advantage.
A puck.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was
he walked into his house, had a cup of coffee, and told him he didn't like the brand he was using. That's what happened.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I didn't see the highlight until this was almost a week ago now. But I'm watching, and Wilson's grinding his head in the ice. So Panarin comes in, and what's Panarin 5'8", 5'9", and kind of just tries to push him off him, and then a melee breaks out. It's a gong show. Right, Panarin.
You know what happened. You know what happened with that? Panarin proved that nothing happened in Russia with what they were saying happened. That's what the way he got thrown away. Like, oh, there's no way that guy abused anyone. Woo. That's stupid, but it's fun. Yeah. It was that was it's people are fired up about that, and I know we weren't going to talk about it because it was a week ago, but people are still talking about it. They were talking about it on Saturday night on CBC when I was watching it, and some people were against it and some people were like, hey, but the thing that you have to look at it is when people will stand up for another player on their team against somebody they'll know they're not going to win, you're creating a team. And that's what everybody's missing. Those guys are going to war for the other guy. Like, we all know people that we wouldn't, they could get beaten up in the streets and we'd walk right on by. But these guys are proving that's not going to happen. I think that's the way you have to look at that. And I know it's a little dangerous with the fighting and stuff, but I kind of like it. Well,
think of it this way. So the next night after the Tom Wilson situation and Panarin got injured, the next night the puck drops and there's a line brawl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was numerous fights the next night with the Capitals and the Rangers. And, I just kind of go back and I want to just kind of turn the page back to the start of that whole incident. Wilson ripped off Panarin's head. He tried to, but he took off his helmet. Then he body slammed him, and we come to find out that he has a concussion, or at least that's what was reported. And so this is a situation where is player safety? And the NHL got all bent out of shape because the Rangers went and sent out a public statement condoning their lack of action. But just back this up a little bit more. You have ESPN and TNT getting ready to take on the NHL contract for the next 7 years. And the reason I say that is, Wilson knew exactly who he had. He's no fool. He's an unbelievable player, and he's unbelievably tough. But he's got a track record of going off the rails. And so if you're ESPN and you're TNT, the first phone call you make the next morning is going, hey, what are we doing? Because you're in the entertainment business, and everybody pulls for their team. But at the end of the day, these guys are in the entertainment business. And the reason that ESPN and TNT are putting money behind them is because the way that the NHL has packaged itself, the speed of the game, the pace of the game, the superstars are allowed to be superstars again. That makes a big difference. And you have to package all this in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. One of the things that makes the NBA so successful is they package that in about 2 hours and 15 minutes, somewhere around there. So you don't take all night watching it. And then the only other thing that I'm going to say is, by the NHL's inaction on this, which this was a huge mismatch. You got a guy at 6'4", one of the toughest guys in the league, body slamming a guy that's 5'8", one of the superstars in the league. I would also, if I was TNT or ESPN, going, hey, is this the new normal? Because what's going to happen is these teams in the NHL are going to have to start protecting their assets. And some people might really like that, But if you're a sponsor and you're the rest of it, you want a sellable product, and you want a product that people aren't going to turn away from. And
yeah, you want to be able to sell the game with your stars being the most healthy athletes in the world, not having to do commercials from a wheelchair. You want that. But I think you are right. The big thing that the NHL has to worry about is time of the game. You can't take 4 hours for a hockey game to take place. It's got to be done within that 2 to 2:20, and especially if it's going to be going on these channels, because they have other stuff that they're going to be showing as well. So
right.
at some point, it's fun for us. It's fun for me. I enjoy guys doing that, but also you have to, the league has to have a talk with the players and say, this is we're selling liquid death. They have to have a talk with the players and say, hey, you're getting millions of dollars because we're able to put this game out there to millions of people. If you want that kind of money and not go backwards, we have to have the right way going. So yeah, exactly. I'm totally, I think we've talked about this before. I think you told me that there was an article about how anything above high school sports should be in the entertainment section.
That was you telling me about, or maybe that might have been Hershey. I thought you and maybe we're having the same conversation, trying to give each other credit for it. Maybe. But I agree with that. This is entertainment. Okay, that's what it is. Especially now, it's a way for people to release after what's gone on the last year, unprecedented times. These guys are still playing. You talk about a guy like Connor McDavid's another superstar, 100 points in 53 or 54 games, incredible stuff. And you want the speed and pace of the play. There's nothing better than going back and forth. And yeah, once in a while, there's a scrum or there might be a scrap and someone thinks someone took a liberty. But what happened the other night, and whatever side of the fence you're on, the NHL's inaction led to reaction from both teams the next night. And I know those guys are working hard at the league office. They're trying to do their best. But it seemed to me, at least, one of the reasons Wilson didn't get suspended for that is because I think every time you get suspended, it's almost like an escalator. So it's like, well, I slammed into the ice. Are we going to give him 10 games? Well, I don't know what the answer is. Maybe you suspend him pending review. They brought in some new rules recently to be able to suspend guys for different things, I think, like boarding and stuff like that they never used to. So, yeah, it's a slippery slope. But one of the things that you're going to start seeing is these teams going out and getting guys that make sure that guys like Panarin and McDavid of the world's, Patrick Kane's in Chicago, are allowed to play their game. And that might slow it down a little bit, and the sponsorship might not be too thrilled.
Yeah, it's you don't want to slow the game down at all. You don't want to, and a fight here and there is not going to slow the game down. But that game slowed the other day. I would say there was probably an extra 45 minutes to that game being aired last week. So yeah, you got to go. Let's move on. Okay. Let's move on. Speaking of good luck charms and fantastic people, congratulations to the under-18 Canadian team for winning gold in Dallas. They did the tournament there. You're looking at a young man right here that might be their good luck charm. I did a show for them via the internet on Zoom for the boys and had a great time with them. And I think that it was probably me bonding them as a team that made them come together and get the gold. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think you need me for the rest of the show. I mean, I think, I think you just might drop me, but they were dominating down there in Dallas. And Coach Dave Barr, an old teammate, congrats, Barzy. He was an assistant coach in San Jose for the last few years and took the helm of these young guys who haven't been playing a lot of hockey. So I'm happy to see those young kids do really well. And it's good to see all of the U18s get back and get going. And I'm sure it felt like a breath of fresh air for all of them and a very exciting time. So, yeah, congrats. And I think we should just plug you in. If any team wants to win the gold or be first, we should just throw it out there right now. If you want to win, Ian, Bagg, Lord Bagg.
I'm a motivational speaker now. Now I'm a motivational speaker. Okay. That's what. It's funny because when you do it on Zoom, you just have everybody's got their own panels, and I just went through them and made fun of each one of them. That's all we did. So by the end of it, it was pretty good. And I kept going. This one kid, he looked like he was a coach. That's how old he looked. So I kept going back to him. What are you, a coach? And all the other kids just, he's the goalie. You already talked to him. Leave him alone. I'm like, calm down, everybody. Calm down. It was fun, though. I had a great time. Congratulations. Well, here's a couple pictures of the boys who were getting the gold. And Danny Jilkin, I think, and Jilkin Danny. That's it. That's his name. He follows me on the Instagram, so we'll put his picture up there.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I got a fan. We'll be getting tickets off of him once he gets to the NHL. So
that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for people that might not be aware. These young guys playing for their country, huge deal. And
well, it would be the future, right? You would say what percentage do you think of those kids will make it to the NHL? And I'm not just talking the Canadian kids. I'm talking like all the.
Well, you're probably looking at the Canadian U.S. rosters. I would say you're probably 60% plus, right? You're probably at least one out of every two for sure, maybe a little bit higher than that. So I think you probably get 60, maybe 70%. And yeah, because some of those guys, it might not work out for them. All of them will get a look. All of them will get a chance. Now, how long they play could be determined by a number of factors, but you're going to be 60%, I would say, minimum for Canada and U.S. kids. Russia, you're probably around 40 or 50 because they could stay home and play. And then, you got Sweden and Finland as well. And probably, I'm going to say, maybe 40, 50%, 35-ish, somewhere in there, because some of those kids might decide to stay home and play in their own leagues in their own country. So how huge do you think it is? There'll be a lot of.
What you seem to be roboting up there for a second. I think that once you said
you're roboting there on me.
As soon as you said something about the Russians, all of a sudden the next thing you know, you froze up. They hurt and they took you down. And it's big for a coach, right? Like Dave Barr, a friend of both of ours, he coaches that team. That's got to make the NHL look at what he can do with a bunch of kids too, because as we say, they're looking for these coaches that can get along, have a mental connection with these younger kids coming into the league. It's changed
for sure. And I'm sure for Barzy, it's almost like a new lease on life sometimes when, you're used to working, like when he was in San Jose, they had all those veteran superstars. They had Erik Karlsson, they had Brent Burns, they had Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau. These guys have been around, have been there, done that. You get with these young kids and it's refreshing and it's almost like a recharge for yourself. And I'm sure Barzy, with the success he had, and I'm sure he learned a ton coaching these kids, obviously had a ball because they won. And now, he becomes a guy that teams are going to be looking at for sure to connect with their young guys and help get the most out of them. And I'm sure you asked him, he learned just as much from them as they did from him, which was – we'll
ask him when he's going to come on the show, and we're going to start doing interviews in the next couple of weeks. And he said he'd definitely be willing to come out and talk to us about being in hockey. So that'll be fun right there. We did get a question this week from Meg Sharples. She wanted to know she wanted to know which mascot should win the NHL, should win the Stanley Cup. That's what she wants to know in the NHL.
That's a great question. We had a little chuckle about that last night. But I'll leave this start to you because you have a favorite, and I don't know if anybody can top it. So maybe share that story again.
I love Gritty. I think Gritty just says so much Philadelphia. He's already been in trouble. Apparently, he punched a kid. So he's my favorite. It's just like, and then it came out that he didn't punch a kid. But when you can get that story going around that you were the mascot that punched a kid, I'm surprised most kids don't get run over by mascots anyways, because most of them have big, around them and just get trampled over top. It's just like trying to grab onto a train. But I don't know any other than Gritty. I don't know. Is there a good mascot in the league? I love the LA Kings, but their mascot looks like they got it out of a Goodwill. It just looks horrible. Just rough.
Well, I will say this about mascots in Philadelphia in particular. The Philly Fanatic from the Philadelphia Phillies baseball team is legendary. Some of the stuff that they pulled off there. And so the Flyers have kind of right shotgun. I mean, Gritty, they're showing him when you watch a Flyers game, they show Gritty all the time. He was getting a portrait done of himself about a month ago. He's sitting in the stands. He's laying on the couch. I mean, stuff that they do, and whoever's behind there,
entertainment. It's entertainment. If you're not grabbing on and making like, because the stuff you can do with a mascot is so stupid and it's not going to take away from the game. That's the big thing. A mascot will never take away from the game, will it? No,
and you might even have the kids love it. And like in Vegas, they got, I think it's some kind of lizard chance. And then, but with the minor league team, with the Silver Knights, they got Lucky. And so Lucky, I went down to watch them play, and the kids are all over Lucky. They love that mascot. Now, Lucky is a little bit softer touch than Gritty.
What is he? Is he like a cowboy or something?
Yeah, it's a horse. Lucky the horse. Yeah, cowboy. Could you imagine? Where are you going with that?
I didn't know. I was like, Lucky. But
I loved it. I thought it was great. And Chance, everyone's kind of like, all right, well, whatever. But
it's Vegas. I would have gone with a showgirl for a mascot. Just like,
how about a washed out Elvis?
just something washed out. Just a drunk Elvis just talking to the. There should be a mascot for the older people and the younger people. Something just comes around and gives you a vaccine or something.
Hey, you know what's really cool? He's not a mascot, but he's part of the kind of that line with the Silver Knights in Vegas. They have a town crier, and he reads the goal. And I'm telling you something, it's worth going to one of their games just to listen to him read a Silver Knights goal. That's like you just stop watching the game and whatever else is going on, and he gets up there and he reads it. Henderson, goal, and
that's awesome. That's great. Whoever came up with that, that is so funny.
Go Google him. The town crier for the Henderson Silver Knights. You'll howl. You will howl. He's great. So.
It's interesting. I think we should probably mention that the AHL with the Canucks have moved from Syracuse. Is it Syracuse? No, they were in Utica. They've moved to Abbotsford. They're going to give Abbotsford a try again.
Oh, another one. Okay.
Yeah, so they're going back there. So, and I think I can't remember who took over Utica, but somebody took somebody that I think. New Jersey and St. Louis took it over. So
well, in Seattle, it's going to be a real shame when you get sent down to Seattle because you're going to go to Palm Springs. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh yeah, the Seattle Kraken's American League teams in Palm Springs. Thanks for coming. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. No wonder these West Coast teams, all these teams out here, San Diego, Henderson or Vegas and Palm Springs, and even the teams in California, some of them over there, you can play in San Jose for the Barracuda. It's a good deal, man. That's a no stress division out there.
That's the area you're getting sent down. Oh, so sad.
Yeah. Tea time the next morning. So,
well, to let you know, Meg, I think Gritty is the best one in the league, and I think the other team's got to pick up the pace and really start working on the work. So right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you, Mr. Bagg. I think Philadelphia, hands down, has in Major League Baseball and in hockey.
I'm trying to think of any other mascots around the league, and none of them pop out at me other than Gritty. I think.
I can't think. I mean, Chance, because we see him in Vegas all the time, the lizard for the Knights, but yeah. I mean,
that doesn't even make sense to me. The lizard, just too many things. It should have been a building. Like it should have been a building, and they could change it every couple of months because that's how many times buildings get torn down in Vegas. So, let's do some shout outs of the week. Or do you want to mention games, or do you want to do shout outs? What do you want to do?
Well, just something to look out for this week. Well, actually, it's going to happen the next 24 to 48 hours or within the next few days. Anyways, these two teams. So Colorado plays in Vegas tonight. By the time this is on, they'll already be playing or have played. That's just interesting because those two teams are still fighting for first place, and Minnesota's still in the race too. Florida and Tampa play, and they're going to play in the first round. Heads up, incoming there. That has already been lively. They just played the other night. And the other two teams they're going to play in the playoffs that play this week as well as Carolina and Nashville. So if you want to see some fireworks or some start to the playoff hockey, that's probably where you should look.
When do the playoffs begin?
That's a good question because you got some teams that are finishing later this week or into next week. But I would say the teams that are made the playoffs, I think most of them are on tap to finish no later than maybe say Friday. And so I could see the playoffs starting by Monday or Tuesday of next week, maybe even Sunday, depending on who you are, because NBC might want to get one of those games.
Fair. Yeah, NBC's last Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
That should be interesting. And okay. Well, those are the games there. And there, Pearl said to wrap those games up. The shout outs. You want to go for shout outs?
Yeah, you go ahead and start us off, and I can.
I got two.
Okay, you go for it.
We'll give you the English. I got two. I got my first one. I want to shout out TNT. I want to shout out for TNT for putting a big push for Wayne Gretzky to host their show. So I'm gonna go, because we've been talked about that forever. I'm like, why wouldn't you get Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, and see just how funny they are? Just put them out there.
Another guy is Brett Hall. Throw him in there. He's crazy.
Throw him in there. Yeah, he'll be naked dancing within seconds. He's the white Charles Barkley. That's what
he'd be awesome.
Yeah, he'd be great. So shout out to TNT for actually doing. I heard some complaints coming from Canada. Why TNT? Well, you watch it on CBC, so don't even worry about it. Okay, you just stick to Rogers and Sportsnet. Don't even complain about who's going down here. The fact that they're trying to sell the game is awesome. TNT. Good luck. And the other one, my other shout out is to Dana Bryson, heading over at the end of the week. I think he's headed over to Latvia. He will be one of the trainers for the American team for the World Championships. So big shout out, Dana.
Good.
Is it the World Championship? What is it called? It's World Cup?
I think it's the World Championship or World Cup. Yeah. So good. Yeah, Dana's awesome. So good for him.
And then a shout out to my wife for the 8-minute conversation we had about Latvia. I'm like, Dana's going to Latvia. Where? Latvia. Where? Latvia. Where? Latvia. Where? Where's that? Where's that? I'm like, well, I don't know, close to Russia. Is it in Russia? No, it's Latvia. So that was a conversation we had. He's frozen. That's when Jeff froze.
I can't believe she talked to you for 8 minutes. I froze, you froze, but I can't believe she talked to you for 8 minutes. So that's a win. Like, if you're trying to build a relationship, I look at the positive of that. But yeah, so I have a shout out this week. I'd like to end on a high note, but we lost a good friend this week. Mark Nahan started off. I'm in aviation. We started off at Virgin America. Sir Richard Branson started that company. Mark was there. He started our hockey team. He's one of the guys that started our hockey team. And then now we're part of Alaska Airlines, and he played for our hockey team there. And we lost Mark last week, and we'll put a picture up of him. He was the best guy in the world, huge Kings fan, wanted to talk hockey 24/7. You couldn't have met a more kind individual and a fantastic pilot and a damn good hockey player. So here's to you, Mark. And that's it. Love to all.
Love to all. Cheers, Mark.
Well, that's it for this week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I can't believe 16 weeks into it, Ian finally let me do an opening and a close. So that means I get to talk more than him this week, but it was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to us via our email, which is up here, and our social media, which I'm not really good at social media, so we're on most of it. Enjoying Orange Slices with Ian and Jeff and Ian. Thank you.